Nick?
Good evening. Welcome to the December 8th meeting of the Warrant Committee. Karen, can you call roll so we know who's here?
We have Jay Fundling on Zoom. Nicole Boyson is here. James Lee Dassey is on Zoom. Here we have Lorraine D., Larry Johnson, Andrew Coe, Brian McGuire, Lee Michael McLean is on Zoom. Nicholas Tangney is here, and Cecile Yang is on Zoom. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for not being here in person. I've had a serious cold for the past week, and I do not want to spread it to any of you.
Thank you.
So I'm remote tonight. I have asked Andrew to be my eyes and ears, let me know who's raising their hand. Help the meeting flow if I'm not able to do it remotely. So I want to thank everyone for accommodating the schedules. I know we had to move last week's meeting to this week. I appreciate that. Things just weren't falling together for last week's meeting. So this week we'll be hearing from the Fire Department and the Council on Aging. Next week on 12/15, a week from today, we're going to have visitors. I'm almost positive we're going to have Mr. Milano and Ms. Dexter, the town administrator and the town financial director, in to speak to the budget as a whole. We'll also have, I believe, next week presentations from the Department of Public Works. Parks, is the person who's doing parks on? We'll double check.
That's me.
Okay, great. We'll do parks next week. You okay with that? Okay. I'm not sure if police will be ready to present next week. That might wait until January. We're also going to approve minutes next week. If you saw the emails flying around in the past hour or so, there will be a dozen outstanding minutes that will be resent to us tomorrow so we can look at and vote on next week. I would like to say that on the 1st of December, which is exactly on time, we all received an email with a folder with budgets. I hope you all received that email. It was sent by Amy Dexter. It linked you to a folder. Please speak up if you didn't get it or weren't able to access the folder. These are all a bunch of budget requests. These are requests from the town department, not the school department, but so everything except schools. I'm not sure. There might be one or two that are still outstanding, but they're mostly there. And these are the budget requests. They're not the final budget recommendations from Mr. Milano. I would like to take a minute to peek at one. I pulled up the planning board budget because it's pretty small, and I think will give us sort of a microcosm of what we're looking at. And I think we looked at something similar in our last meeting. So can everyone see the Excel sheet or the, I guess, whatever, pseudo Excel sheet? Okay. So every budget will look very similar. First page, Schedule A. You'll see several columns related to FY25. Now keep in mind, fiscal year 25 is the one that ended approximately 6 months ago, ended on July 1st. You can see what was budgeted. In this case, there were some adjustments. We can speak to that. So there was a total budget, and then what was actually spent, and then the difference between what was budgeted and what was spent. Then you'll see a column of FY26. That's the year we're smack in the middle of now. This is the budget that was approved this spring, and we're right in the middle of this year, FY26. And then you'll see FY27, which is the, I won't even say proposed, the pseudo-proposed, the first step of what's proposed for this upcoming year budget will be approved at town meeting. I'll click through these tabs, Schedule B and C. I don't know if there's anything here. Nope. Okay. Salary and wage. One reason I'm looking at this is because if there's a person here, you'll see that person's name. It's not secret, but I'm looking at this one because there's not a person's name here. The name is vacant. Saying there's an administrative clerk. They expect to pay them $40,900 if they hire them. Then we get to general expenses. These are usually the most interesting. D is salaries and wages. E is the general expenses. You can see for the planning board, I will note that the planning board budget does not include the, maybe it's getting into the weeds, doesn't include the town planner there. They roll up to the town administrator's budget. So it's just one person. Then what they might spend their budgeting on, you can see the largest number is planning board studies. been following what the planning board does. They sometimes pay out for studies. Last year was actually adjusted up. We thought there might be a lot of studies, so the budget got adjusted to 100,000. They spent 70,000 of that. And then for this year that we are currently in, they got appropriated $50,000 for studies. Next coming year, $50,000 is what they're requesting for studies.
Jay, can I
That
ask a
also has
question?
a narrative.
Jay,
Some of them have a narrative. Yes.
Question. Go back to that sheet. How do
General
you?
expense?
Yeah. How do you get the? Can you get the detail on that, like planning board studies like that, for example? Like, what's in that? Is it one thing? Is it like 5 different things? Is there a way to get the details?
I guess the answer would be several things. It might be in the narrative, or it might be that's what the expert has to call up the responsible person and ask. What was this? Why did it go from 50 to 100? I think we all might know, but you can certainly ask. What do you expect to plant? Do you have things you expect to spend it on this year, or is it sort of a general? So, I guess the answer would be the detail will be either in the narrative. I'm not going to read this to you, but might take there.
Well, I was thinking more like general ledger access. Do we have that, like the detail in it?
No, we don't have that here. That would be when the person is digging in and doing follow-up questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, the narrative is always a good thing to look at. That I won't read it to you, but this tells you what they expect to spend money on. And if there's a change, we'll probably say why that change is expected. So this is one of the simpler ones. There are a bunch of them out there. I'll just click quickly on, do you still see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
You can see there are a lot of them. Cemetery, Board of Health, Tech Department, Conservation Commission, blah, 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 blah. I'll stop sharing. So that's a reference that should be available to all of us. Any questions about that? So you are all assigned various different budgets, and we can start taking a look at those. If there are no other questions, I think that covers the general things. As I said, we're not going to be approving minutes tonight. We'll be approving minutes next week, which we'll receive tomorrow, so we'll have several days to look at. And if there's no other ado, I'd like to turn this over to Larry, who's going to present on fire.
All right, great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Good. All right, so I guess maybe share that presentation. We'll start there. This is based on the budget spreadsheets that Jay was just looking at. Which I guess we can also share, or you could look at. You can follow along online. But yeah, I met with Chief Madden last week or a couple of weeks ago. Went over his budget in pretty good detail, and then he gave me a tour of the firehouse, which was really great. It was really special. It made me really appreciate being on the warrant committee because I've never taken a tour of the firehouse before. I got a personal one from the fire chief. He's really excited about it. Although I had to take notes by hand, which was kind of a drag, rather than on my computer, because it was an in-person meeting. But yeah, so he went over the budget. There's just at a high level here. I'll just go to my presentation here. There's not a significant number of changes this year. They brought on a new fire truck, which I don't know if you guys are aware, but fire trucks are very, very expensive, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they're usually, I think they're maybe $500,000, something like that, maybe more. I don't remember exactly the price
I
of
think
it.
engines have more than $1 million.
Yeah, I think, you're right. I think there might be more than $1 million, and then the ladder truck is a little bit cheaper. But they had purchased a fire truck about 3 or 4 years ago, and it took them that long to get it delivered due to COVID delays and things like that. So the new fire truck that just came online this year is the new engine, I should say, it was paid for in a budget several years ago, and they don't have any plans to bring on any other new major equipment. With that truck. I mean, the biggest changes, of course, as you guys can imagine, are the 3 new firehouses, but that comes out of the capital budget. It doesn't come out of the fire station budget. They have some operating costs that increase, which you guys will see in my presentation. But some utilities, things like that, those costs went up due to the new firehouses being a little bit bigger, or being significantly bigger than the old firehouses. But beyond that, there's not a significant change there. And as far as salary is concerned, here I can go into detail here. I just go to the salary and wages. Yeah, so there is there are some increases. They have 6 new firefighters that are coming on over the next. Some of them just started in December. One of them starting in March, and then they have one open position that they haven't filled yet. So that their training budget is a little higher than that. They generally at the fire station in the fire department they have really low turnover. People tend to stick around for a really long time, so it is unusual for them to have openings, that just come up out of nowhere. They can usually plan for it. The overtime went up just a little bit, not significantly, mostly inflation, things like that. Sick leave buybacks, they had a couple of folks retire. And then out of grade duties, that's just an additional 10,000. I mean, that's people filling in roles that aren't necessarily theirs. That's what out of grade means. It means above my pay grade. When people say that, that's what out of grade means. So, when people are doing things that are, maybe they're, in a supervisory role temporarily and they need to be paid for it. It's part of the union contract that they need to be paid for those. Holiday pay, as the firefighters, because there's a very low turnover, people tend to stick around for a while. They get the, their holiday pay, and their general pay just, goes up a little bit every year due to the longevity. I'm not sure why the EMT certification went down. That's a nice bonus. And then the education incentive went down a little bit as well, probably because mostly related to the longevity. But as far as staffing is concerned, here, you might as well go to the next slide here. As far as staffing is concerned, there is an ideal. So the way this works, obviously the fire department isn't a business, so you can't staff based on demand. You have to staff based on what the needs are of the town, the size of the town and the geographical layout of the town, things like that. So there's something called the NFQA or NFPA, the National Firefighters Fire Patrolman Association, I think is what it stands for, who set the standards for fire departments all across the country. And that's where they get their staffing levels from, their ideal staffing levels. So their ideal staffing level is actually 72 firefighters. They currently have 55 with 6 openings, the ones that I just described. The recommendation from the national organization is 72. So that would require an additional 17 firefighters. I thought I changed these numbers. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I must have sent a older copy. It's actually 56, and it's 16 more recommended. But either way, that's the ideal, and that is eventually what Chief Madden would like to get to. But he's not requesting it this year because, as you can see, if you look further down, their response times are good, 4 to 6 minutes for 90% of our runs. And that's the NFPA recommendation as well. The first engine should be on the scene within 4 minutes anywhere in town, and they're able to hit those numbers. So much as he would love to get to the NFPA standards, I mean, it's his dream. Now with the override and everything like that, it's probably just not the time to ask for 16 new firefighters. So he's filling the plan is to fill the six openings, and then if anybody else retires or anything else or leaves the organization or anything like that throughout the year. Then he had one firefighter that passed away sadly last year too. That's one of the openings as well. If there's any other openings, he'll fill those, but he's not requesting any additional staff because right now he can't. He has a hard time justifying it based on their response times. But eventually, what he would like is the way these engines are staffed is for any group. There's it's broken down into groups, staffing groups. There's 8 firefighters essentially in each group, and there's one lead. I thought I put this in here. Let me just check. Yeah, here it is. Oh yeah, if you look at the. Okay, yep. Yeah, so there's one shift commander, and then for the 2 engines, there's 3 firefighters on each engine. And then on the ladder truck, there's 1 firefighter. What he would love to do if he had the full NFPA recommendation for staffing is he would have 4 firefighters on each engine and then 2 firefighters on the ladder truck. But as it stands now, he gets by with the 3 on each and then the 1 firefighter, and they're able to do what they need to do as a fire department with that level of staffing. So it's not an urgent need, but he also would like a full-time training person. He has a part-time training person right now, and he would love an assistant fire chief as well. That was approved, I guess, a couple of years ago, but it was never funded, so it just never got through the budget process. So that's his goal for the department as far as staffing is concerned. What else we got? And then, as I said, if you want to go to the next slide, general expenses.
Larry, can we back up a second with the approved but not funded? I think I know what that means.
Yeah.
Do you know better than I do what that means?
I don't
I think
really. It was like approved through, through Nick Milano, but then maybe not through us. I'm not sure. I actually don't know what approved but not funded means.
There's that board that evaluates positions and says, yes, this is justified or not.
Okay.
So it was probably approved by the personnel board.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lee Michael. That's great.
He has 55 people now with positions. Is that up from last year, or is it the same as last year?
It's more or less the same. Yeah, from what I understand. It's 56 positions, actually. I'm sorry. I have an updated slide deck, which I can share after the meeting. That's the updated numbers. I must not have saved it before I sent it off.
He's not added at all.
No. Not as far as I can tell. The general expenses are they're higher, but mostly it's utilities because of the new firefighter, the new firehouse, the new central firehouse. Those will continue to go up because they'll be adding a second, the one in East Milton. They expect that to be open in fall of 2026, so next year. So we'll continue. And that's larger as well. So we'll continue to see those numbers go up. It's nothing significant, but it is going up.
I'm sorry, can you say, what am I looking at, the 498 and the 504?
Yeah, that's I'm sorry, yeah, that was the 498 was the number for 2026, and then for the 504 is for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not adding these up in my head, but these numbers don't seem to add up to 400,000.
No, they don't. You'd have to look at the full spreadsheet. I just highlighted the major
big
changes.
numbers.
Yeah, but if you were to bring up the full spreadsheet, you could see the numbers would add up. So yeah, that's it. There's just some notes at the end, some summary. There's some, any increases are due to wage increases, and then the utility costs for the new firehouse. And then, they still have to replace equipment throughout the year. Those numbers are in the detailed spreadsheet as well. The staffing remains below NFPA standards, but that's a task for a future year. And then, the department's focused on, training expansion and just continuing to maintain their response times of 4 to 6 minutes per run. So do we want to look at the detailed spreadsheet at all? Is anybody interested in that? Is anybody? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
It's good that he's comfortable with the staffing levels, but it's like a meaningful percentage below the national standard recommendation.
I know.
Like, is that 20% below? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I asked him about that today because I was looking for, as I was putting this presentation together, I just thought it was strange that he wasn't asking for any additional staff.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty constant for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it's good that he feels comfortable with that number. It just seems like a big gap between where he's comfortable and what the national standard is.
I know. I mean, there's a reason those national standards are there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. I can take that back to him and say, what is, because I want to know the exact, I realized before I came in here, I realized, like, I don't know why he's not asking for additional staff. I don't know the reason. It seems like he should be.
I don't know whether it came out in a discussion with Chief Madden or somebody else, but I remember at one point somebody saying that Milton, whoever planned the locations of the firehouses, did an incredible job.
Yeah.
That has lasted the test of time because the distribution has worked out well in terms of their ability to meet the response times.
Oh, I've heard that too, which is great.
Yes.
But then, he talked about the national standards is 4 persons on every ladder. On engines and 2 people on a ladder, and they're running at 3 and 1. It just seems like, in percentage terms, even that way, that's a big gap.
Yeah, and then I know he had also said that in terms of administrative, at one point, I think it might have been the training officer role that he serves, or there's a scheduling function that that they've been sort of working around. That is a little bit less than ideal, but they make it work.
Yeah.
So there's some quirks about it, and I know that the utilities, I don't know if they, and I'm assuming the new fire station will have it also, but when they built the new firehouse, they put in special decontamination rooms that hadn't been in any of the other. So I'm sure there's an increase in utilities and running the devices and washing machines and whatever is in there. But
yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they just. Yep.
I recall the chief had been down before, and I think one of the ways that they manage the staffing shortage is with overtime. So I'm not sure. Maybe that's why he feels like he can, still make do, because they have the ability to go over on hours. I don't remember all the details. And then I do recall we asked, is there a safety concern that we're understaffed? And I remember he talked about the fact that the local communities tend to assist each other. So there's more resources. If there were a fire, it wouldn't just be Milton responding. There would probably be Randolph and maybe Boston and Kansas. So other municipalities will also send units. So I think there's a lot of networking and assistance. I mean, obviously, you can't rely on other people, but I do think that there are things beyond the NFPA recommendations that are at play.
Yeah. In the back of my mind, I always think about that weird little neighborhood down by Houghton's Pond, which is part of Milton, and I can't understand how they can possibly get down there in 4 minutes, So it must be that they coordinate with Canton. That's the only thing I can think of, or possibly Randolph,
There's a firehouse over by Brush Hill Road that they use for that neighborhood.
Right.
Arlington?
Single engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could make it there. in 4
Were they
minutes.
closing that one?
No.
Oh, Arlington's staying open.
Yeah, that's the one that's it's the only one that they're keeping the original building, but they're renovating it significantly.
Atherton.
Atherton.
Last year when he was here, he gave statistics on how many actual fires he did and how many were medical.
Oh, yeah.
Anything like that?
No.
Like he had how many went up and down each year, which was interesting because
Yeah.
the vast majority of ones they do are not.
Not fires. Yeah.
Apparently, we're at higher risk here in New England because we have the because of the old housing stock, and it's all wood. This all these old wooden houses from the 1800s. Put us at higher risk than say like a town in Northern California or something. Yeah, that's the thing. So I guess Jay, I guess the way you guys used to do things is they would come and present themselves, and obviously I'm not a firefighter. So Chief Madden would be able to give much more detail than I could. So I suppose maybe at some later date, since April's a ways away, maybe we could possibly bring him in here if people have further questions. But for now, you guys can give me the questions and I'll take it back to him. I'll try to get those statistics. Do you want to see those?
Yeah,
Right?
sure. I mean, it's interesting. I think it's
You can see
Yeah.
the average. You can see the detailed response time. I bet too. I bet they track all that.
No, I think it'd be good to have the fire chief, the police chief, and health services,
Yeah,
Department Board of Health come in.
I know the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DPW.
What I was thinking was, and this is fine what you did, Larry, but maybe like when the police comes up, is that if we were to have the guests come in, it would be at this earlier stage and not at the later stage when we're all cramming and trying to get the budget done. So maybe when we, come around and have the police, maybe we'll have the police chief come in and talk to us again at this earlier stage. Not giving you a hard time for, doing this, because I left things open-ended.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is I don't love the idea of the fire chief coming in the second week of March when we're finalizing the budget. Now,
Right.
if we really want to have him in, we could have him in maybe the first week of January when things are still ramping up.
Right.
Or we can say, Larry can take the questions back. Anyone on nobody's forbidden from asking questions. Anyone can maybe email the police chief and CC Larry and ask their questions. That's fine too.
you're right. Fire chief.
Sorry, fire chief.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm also thinking about the usage. Like, I wonder if the NFPB, whatever, if they are really optimistic and most towns are 20% below. Like, it would be useful
be
to get a
interesting to know
sense
too,
for
yeah.
benchmarking against other towns. But I think the special circumstances of Canton and Randolph filling in too is super interesting. So we could go down a big rabbit hole. But that would just be, are they so overly optimistic with their projections that no town can possibly get to their levels? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I'd imagine, think about it, like 75% of the town is along the Neponset River, right? And just on the other side is probably 3, 4, 5,
Right.
Boston firehouses,
Right.
I'm sure they probably jump in and help out all the time.
All the fire departments have reciprocal agreements.
Yeah. It's that whole 2-alarm, 3-alarm, 5-alarm
Right.
fire thing,
But yeah, it would be cool to know that.
So maybe just being in a sort of a dense suburb
Yeah.
allows you to do that, take advantage of the
And,
town's revenue.
Again, the question of if we should have them come in brings back to, I think I gave this example to many of you when I talked to you on the phone, and maybe also brought it up at the a meeting. When the fire chief comes in, we all turn into little children and we ask them all sorts of questions about fire trucks because it's fascinating. Larry, you just said you had a fascinating tour of this
So
fire truck.
interesting.
It is fascinating, but unless it's directly related to the budget, it's probably not the best use of our time around this table. If anyone on this committee wants a tour of the fire station, not just Larry, I'm sure you could get it. But around this table, and most of the conversation tonight has been, I think, directly related to their budget request. Do they need more people? Do they not need more people? So I think this has been very good conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't want to call them in, and if we just,
If we just want to ask him
just want
why fire engines are red.
Can I borrow your hat?
It seems pretty clear cut to me, right? And I don't have any concerns. I am interested in that national standard.
Yeah.
Your question about what's the average in the country? Like, maybe we are aligned with everybody's average, and so the national standard's ambitious.
Right.
And then I would feel better about that. But if we're substantially
Well
below
below.
the average, not just the recommendation, then maybe it makes sense to try to grow the staffing incrementally year by year.
Right.
So, and I'm more sympathetic about that than the kind of administrative burdens. You want people on the front lines to have the safety of their comrades and protect the town. I'm more interested in that than like scheduling issues and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
I'm not,
just curious about that, but I don't have any concerns.
Like I said, I'm not a firefighter, so I don't really know. I don't have that background, but I just, the one person on a ladder truck seems strange to me. There's three firefighters on an engine, and then one guy on a ladder truck. I don't know. That just seems strange.
I always picture the guy in the back driving for the back, so we'd have two. But
Well, there's the dog too.
Right,
Let's
yeah,
not forget about the dog. I don't think, maybe the ladder trucks don't work that way anymore. But yeah, you're right, Jay. It's good to just have a sort of a high-level budget discussion, and then if we have more questions, we can possibly bring them in. If we
Do
need
they have dogs anymore?
I'll ask him then.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. You have a dog.
Can we pet the dogs? We'd like pictures of the dogs.
Does the dog have
This
a
is
cute
the
little
stuff that Jay is crying about. So please stop.
yes, Andrew, use your gavel. Get them under control.
We're giving them a Dalmatian.
Okay. So it sounds like the budget, he's not really requesting for a budget
Right.
increase outside of sort of cost of living increase. So as far as budget decisions, we'll see what the town administrator recommends, but it sounds like there's not too much wiggle room one way or the other.
No, but I'll ask him
Can
those
we look at the
questions.
expenses again? Do we go over that?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Not the time.
I had a question, that's why.
Yeah, see, most things are level funded, except for water, sewer, and electricity. And then I would think the gas, heat, and utility would be higher, but it's not.
Probably more efficient buildings.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So that's the extra size,
right. Good point. That's gotta be it. Yeah.
I would guess.
The goal was to have them all be entirely electric, solar, but they weren't able to get there. No, they were under budget on gas, heat, and utility this year.
Just to talk this through a little
Why?
bit, like 26, the expenses went up 306 to 398, which is like 30%. But that was mostly because of the new firehouse, I presume.
Right.
And
What?
equipment.
I can't understand why. I'm sorry, where is the 2020? Let's see, maybe I have to scroll up a little bit. Yeah, the
I can go to
20.
a different tab, I'm not sure where you'd like to be.
Oh, Schedule E.
Schedule E?
Yeah. The general expenses.
No.
Yeah, see, what's strange about this, now that I'm looking at it again, is that he has the percentage change on the top two lines for water, sewer, and electricity, but he doesn't have them for any other lines.
You have to total, well, they equal the same. There's no increase.
Yeah, no increase. I guess he's not requesting an increase in the budget, that's why.
Yeah, if you look at the column that's labeled E, it's really column G. That shows how much they came in under budget in the year that closed 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And most things were a little bit under budget. So I guess he's thinking that cushion is enough. And then, I won't look at the line by line, but
Yeah,
they came in under budget last year, and then they got a little bit of bump in the budget for the year that we're currently in. And I guess he's assuming that covers it for next year too.
the level, so.
I'm surprised they put in electric heat in the firehouses. It's supposed to be like the most inefficient.
I think they put in gas heat in the new firehouse.
Yeah, he didn't. They
An
tried,
electric heat pump is pretty efficient. It's not like the old school electric radiators.
right. Yeah, the goal
But I
was
think
electric, but
gas.
they couldn't do it. So there is gas heat.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I see. So it's, can we just go back to the other spreadsheet?
The main one?
Yeah, well, it said new equipment, I remember it. It was like 100,000 budgeted for this year. Appropriated for this year, 100,000 for next year. What is that? Do you know what the equipment is? Because that, like, it seemed like last year was a high number, but what is it gonna be for next year?
Is that under, that would not be under.
Schedule, it says Schedule E.
Line 5, row 21. She's like 60,
Larry, is it in the narrative?
There it is, 15, equipment maintenance. Where do you see new equipment, Ryan?
It's
Uh,
this,
Schedule
Just line
A,
5.
row 21.
Oh, okay.
it refers to Schedule E, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to find. I'm having a hard
So if you
time
look at
finding it.
Schedule E,
Oh,
it's
Schedule E,
down
here it
to
is.
the bottom,
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
down to row 44.
Yeah, I mean, that's like new hoses and things like that. Jaws of Life, all the different equipment that they have, and everything that goes on the engines. Let's see here. And a lot of that is related to the new buildings as well. Why don't I get some more details on that?
yeah, okay, just curious.
Can you peek at the
Right,
narrative?
this
and
year,
see
he's
if there's
putting it off for
anything
next
there?
year. and this
It's not
year,
in the narrative.
zero.
It's not.
The narrative's kind of
The
skimpy.
narrative doesn't have anything. And then the goals and accomplishments it doesn't really have that kind of detail either.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question to ask. It's almost double last year, so it is roughly double last year.
Right. And we did have a conversation about that. He explained what it was, but I don't recall, and I don't have in my notes exactly why the number is so much higher. Sometimes there's notes here. Let's see what it says at the bottom. $25,000 is the useful. Yeah, 25,000 more. It has to go through the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, which we know. Yeah, I'll have to go back to him on that. I'll take that back to him. So I got a couple of follow-up questions. Why he hasn't requested any new staff for this year. If we could see those statistics that you were talking about, Brian, that would be great. I'll ask him for those. Are the NFPA standards, are they lower for Milton than for other towns, or are they about the same? That's a good one. I had the question why just one firefighter on the ladder truck. And then what is the detail of the new equipment costs? So I'll take these questions back to him. Does anybody have anything else? Any other questions? I don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, just thinking ahead, I don't want to ask for anything unreasonable. So we're meeting again a week from today, and then probably like the second week of January. So if you think you would have them by a week from today, that'd be fine. Otherwise, we'll check it in January with you for these answers.
He was great to work with. I have a feeling he'll get right back to me. And I'm telling you, if anybody ever wants to reach out to him, I'm sure he'd be happy. He was so excited to show me the firehouse.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he was really great to work with. Maybe not as good as the library, I don't know, with Michael, but he was still pretty good.
The library lets you take things home.
You have to return them.
The old equipment you're not using.
We'll let you drive the fire truck.
I know, I kind of wish I could have taken my kids with me, but they would have had to sit through a budget meeting and then go to the firehouse.
Larry, if you take things home from the firehouse, you also get to tour the police station.
But only one room in the police
I
station.
love that, Ron.
That's a
Well,
terrible
you get
deal.
fingerprints, all the fun stuff.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Thank you. If that wraps that up, I believe the next thing on the agenda is the Council on Aging.
Yep, that's me. We don't have to share anything right this moment, but if you want to prep to share the Excel spreadsheet, I'll refer to that for a bit at the very end. If you haven't been to the Council on Aging, it might be worth stopping by to get a little bit of exposure to what they're doing there, because they're running a pretty awesome operation. In general, the Council on Aging has 3 pillars that our seniors lean on them for, and that is outreach, to get them involved in things, programs in which they can get involved, and then transportation. Sometimes to get to those programs, sometimes to get to doctor's appointments, all sorts of different things, the grocery store, etc. Their main strategic goals include promoting independence and aging in place, those programs that I mentioned, improving transportation, and then strengthening outreach and communication. I want to pause for just a second and say how well they have been hitting those strategic goals. The director shared with me that in 2020, we had 838 seniors accessing our Council on Aging. In 2025, we have 3,944 seniors accessing the Council on Aging, which is a 361% increase. This is a huge change without an increase in staffing levels commensurate to how big that jump is. This is one of those budgets where they did say that they were stretched too thin and that burnout is a concern and that they feel like they need an administrative assistant to take some burden off. They did request that position through Nick and team, and it was denied because they're trying to have a level budget year. So all of the increases that you see in this budget are due to cost of living increases. It's almost entirely due to energy sources. There's a lot of driving that goes on. But anyway, I will get to back to that in just a second. I just wanted to mention that they're offering 17 different fitness classes, including chair and mat yoga, circuit training, hiking, tap dancing, line dancing, strength training, tai chi, Zumba, and they have a ton of other programs as well that are non-fitness focused, including watercolors, ukulele, mahjong, which was recently featured on Chronicle on television. They have a cribbage offering, photography. They do tech support for seniors that need assistance navigating how to do online bill pay or telemedicine, etc. They have a big focus on food insecurity and social isolation, hosting meals, including an award-winning breakfast brunch, coffee in their cafe, and different foodie adventures. They also offer an AARP tax service, which is pretty amazing. You got a big packet of documents, and in there's a link to their December newsletter. She said that the phone starts ringing off the hook every week when this newsletter hits the seniors' mailboxes. If you look at this, just for the month of December, most of the days have 10 programs that seniors can choose from, and the vast majority of these are put on by volunteers. I was excited to see that they're offering their first out-of-state trip to New York City tomorrow with some seniors going to see the Rockettes, which is very exciting. So, long story short, huge increase. Some of their accomplishments for the last couple of years include a bunch of grants that they've received. One of the grants funds that Breakfast and Brunch initiative at Stella's. They got a $5,000 grant for a solo aging series that they did, and they opened this one up to be virtual and in person. It was a 5-part series for older adults who are living alone, offering them practical advice for things that they need to keep in mind, including all of the important documents that they should have at the ready, what they should have in a binder for if something does happen to them so their family can find everything in a logical place, all that sort of thing. They offered it again in a 5-part series, and they had 40 or 50 people attend in person, and they had 80 people attend online, which was a really big success for them. So they were very excited. As I mentioned earlier, they do the vast majority of their work with volunteers. They have 62 active volunteers, which is amazing, considering that we do not have a volunteer coordinator. Other people in positions doing other things are pitching in and helping with those volunteer trainings and coordination. And she did point out to me that one of the downsides of operating with so many volunteers is that they need a significant number of training and oversight. So that is a tough spot for them to be in without a volunteer coordinator. Not that they were asking for that, they're just asking for an administrative assistant to try to help ease some of the burden. They've been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years connecting with other departments, including the library, Parks and Rec, and the health department. You can flip through the slide deck later and see some of the things that they've done on food insecurity and the tax service that I mentioned earlier and outreach to marginalized communities. All pretty impressive stuff. They do have a van that needs to be replaced soon. They have applied 3 years in a row for a grant to replace the 14 passenger vehicle. It's been denied repeatedly. Last year, they were told by the state that they were specifically rejected because of MBTA non-compliance, which is disappointing. So they have an ask in the capital budget right now for if they don't get funding. And the timing is going to be such that they should find out in early April if the grant is approved by the state this time, which is right around when we're finalizing the budget to go in the mail to the printer. So that's going to be a little bit tricky for the capital budget committee to navigate, because if that funding comes through, they can allocate that money to something else, and if the funding doesn't come through and this is towards the top of the list, then the Council on Aging is hoping that thing will get funded. Just a couple of little interesting facts that she pointed out to me that I thought I would share. She said, this is not an apples to apples comparison. This is apples to oranges, so please don't take offense at this. But she just wanted to point out the scale, which is that the Council on Aging represents 21%, I think it's up to 24% of the town's population, and the department budget is 0.25% of the town's annual budget. That equates to about $50 a person that they get allocated. If you were to contrast that with our youth population that go to the Milton Public Schools, where we're at about $15,000 a person, that's a stark difference. And she's not asking for $15,000, of course, but she is saying, let's give proper consideration to the amount of things that our seniors need assistance with and how much we are funding that. So again, they did ask for that part-time position. I'm going to read verbatim from her narrative for just one paragraph. It says, "We are requesting the addition of a full-time W4 administrative clerk to Council on Aging staff. The staff at the Milton Council on Aging are at a breaking point due to the increased demand for services. The town's population is aging rapidly, as is reflected in both the U.S. Census Bureau numbers for the town and the exponential increase in our membership. The U.S. Census Bureau forecasts that there will be more adults than children in 2035. This tremendous increased number of older adults seeking services now and in the future from the COA staff comes with its own set of unique challenges. As older adults age, their service needs become more complex. We need to smartly increase staffing at the Council on Aging to handle the large increase in demand for our services that we are currently experiencing and will continue to experience. The addition of a full-time admin clerk to help streamline operations and better serve our population is much needed. Failure to do this will result in the Council on Aging not being able to maintain our same level of award-winning service to the older adults in the town. This is a low-cost solution to a serious issue taken by multiple towns in the state to manage the needs of the large influx of older adults." So there is some money available in a grant that we get through the federal government called the Elder Affairs Formula Grant Program. And they're able to use that for a certain number of hours, but it's falling well short of a full-time employee, which is what they were hoping for. If you want to put up the spreadsheet now, on the first page, I'll just refer to that as the spreadsheet is coming up. There is really not much change here to consider. It's overall a 4% increase from last year, and the vast majority of that on Schedule A is again from energy increases. I'll now refer quickly to Schedule E. I just want to point out on Schedule E that while there are a couple of differences, if you were to scan this and see, oh, this line is going from 11 to 14 or 5 to 10 or from, it looks like there's a couple of jumps, but in actuality, the Council on Aging did not have a programs line in their budget. So on the screen, it looks like it's line number 18. You'll see that there was zero funding in there in previous years. Last year, they appropriated $5,000, and now they're changing that line to $10,500. So what they did was they decreased some things in other areas, notably electricity, where I guess some of the programming funding was hidden, and there was other accounts where programming funding was coming from. To make it a little more closer to reality, they added that program line. But the overall impact to the bottom line was $5,000. So they haven't been increasing, all of these budgets. If you look and do the math all the way through, you can see that it's not an overall large increase. I went through what some of those smaller increases are, and it's mostly kitchen materials for feeding people, a little bit of IT. They're adding a new transportation module to their software so that they can better schedule their transportation needs. And I think that's about it. it's not a super complex budget, and if we do find ourselves in a situation where there is money available at the end of the year, this is one to keep in mind, because she did cite burnout and said that, you know, the demand is going to continue to grow, which I understand given that our population is aging. And they are doing a lot of good work, and I was pleased to get this opportunity to go to the Council on Aging. Can take some questions if you like.
Lee Michael, what?
The time frame on the percentage increase of the services was like 300% over what period of time? I forget.
So the
3 years?
the number of people accessing
Yeah,
the Council on Aging
it was really impressive.
I just saw it.
Yeah, it grew
5 years.
361% over 5 years.
Wow.
It's incredible.
So when Christine took over the job as director in 2020, they were serving 838 people, and she grew that to 3,944.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's great. And she said a lot of that came through partnering with some of the other town departments like the library and Parks and Rec, et cetera, to increase outreach and make sure that people were aware of the offerings.
If people look at the folder that we sent around with the budgets,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the budget, there's the COA budget, and there's also 3 other documents: the goals, the Council on Aging goals, Council on Aging org chart, and Council on Aging accomplishments. And that speaks to that increase. And I was going to ask, 2020, of course they didn't have many people taking advantage of things in 2020. But that's not what it means. It means
Yeah.
it says they had X
Numbers.
number of people signed up in January 2020,
Mm-hmm.
but things were normal.
Yeah.
Now they have this many people signed up. So
It seems like there's a trend in people using town services, because we saw that with the library as well.
Yeah.
Part of it is aging in place. Social isolation is a significant risk factor for people developing dementia and all sorts of other health ailments. And so keeping folks busy as they get older, and as it mentions in here, seeing this, people over 60 are now 24% of our town. And that it grows all the time.
I have a question, Lee Michael. This is you might not know this, but I was looking at the org chart, and there's 7 van drivers on the org chart,
Yeah.
and then a couple of other part-time people. But then the budget only has 1 van driver. Do you have any idea what that's all about? Or the other
All of
budget?
those van drivers are part-time.
Yeah.
They must have just 1 full-time van driver, but I don't see a full-time van driver listed on their.
It's
Oh yeah, Joe Meir in the upper right-hand corner. So they have that's Joe's salary in the upper right, and then the rest of them are part-time.
okay.
but where's their pay show through on the budget?
I'm not sure. I can follow up and ask that.
I mean, maybe they're a contract or something, but still, it should show up in the budget somewhere.
Well, it's definitely in there somewhere. Sorry that I can't answer the question, but I'm sure it's in there.
Maybe they're volunteers.
I'm sure some of it is volunteer.
Yeah,
They're doing so much work with volunteers.
Larry, does the salary and wage tab not help, or am I just missing your question?
No, the
So
salary
they
and wage
have,
tab does.
did you see that on Schedule B, they have a transportation gift of $200,000
Oh,
Oh, that's
in '24? So they also have a state grant for the van. Oh, sorry, that is for the new van. I apologize. But the transportation gift, I'm imagining, contributes to that, and they do have a revolving fund that they can sometimes use when it gets to a certain.
yeah. It's the org chart, like the org chart.
Oh, yeah,
has
got
all
it.
the
That all those
drivers.
people are on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just curious.
But I will ask for clarification on where their pay is. I'm guessing that it's in that transportation gift.
Yeah, that makes sense. The numbers kind of add up too if they're part-time.
How many, do they have more than 1 van?
Yes, they have I forget the number. It's a significant number of vehicles. It was 9 different vehicles.
How old is the one that they want to replace? You know, how many miles?
I will find that out for you. discussing that with her.
I think other departments use those vans too. Remember the IT department uses
That's
the
a
vans?
good point that I forgot to mention in my overview. A lot of different people and organizations in the town use the Council on Aging for a lot of different things. Their large room happens to be one of the few indoor places where somebody can host 100+ people or 100 people. And so the Council on Aging, in addition to working to serve the senior population of the town, they do end up hosting a bunch of different events over there. I remember doing something for an election there one year. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that their vehicles are being used for other things as well, because it certainly seems like they have a pitch-in where they're needed kind of attitude. Jay?
Yeah, I certainly, I don't know if, elections are there. I don't know if the elections budget gives any money to the Council on Aging to pay for that space. The select board meets there. I don't know if the select board budget gives them any money for using the space and their utilities. I think what you said earlier about, schools versus Council on Aging, I think that's a serious point, because we are a community, we are a government, we thrive on residential taxes, and we want everyone in the town to feel like I'm getting something back from this town government that I'm paying for. And that doesn't mean give money to the Council on Aging and just have them set it on fire. But if they're really providing services that are appreciated by this large section of our town, even just from a crass dollars and cents, I want the taxpayers to be happy with the town government point of view. This seems like a good place to spend money.
Yeah.
I guess what I don't know if we're going to do anything with this. I don't know if there's going to be any changes this year. But I would like to see some numbers, like, okay, we got the numbers of how many people sort of signed up to be a part of the Council on Aging. Okay, I don't know what that means, but we've got this many people coming to exercise classes and they're filled up and they want more. Or, here's the waiting list for vans. Here's the sort of numbers of what they would like to provide but can't right now. Or numbers that they do provide, that's fine too. If we give X number of rides, that's interesting to know. But if they are unable to provide the numbers of rides people want, that's also very interesting to know. If it's
Demanding capacity, yeah.
Yeah, and again, just from a point of view of, I want all residents in Milton to feel like they're benefiting from the town government, not just the families with children. That's a real thing. That's a real thing that town government should be providing. And I'd like to.
I think that's it for the Council on Aging. Great staff, let's keep them in mind later as we're budgeting if an opportunity comes up. And ask them those questions.
Can you say again about the request? Because I don't see the request on the budget submitted, So
what I just read to you is in the budget on the narrative, on the narrative sheet. But also, I think I sent you the communication that she sent to Nick Milano. It's an email in which she outlines the reasons for needing the employee, including growing population of seniors, enhanced program delivery, reduced workload for current staff, and community engagement. So you can read more about the request there.
Thank you. So I guess the files we're looking at are only level services.
Yeah.
So I guess if I looked at the file for the library, would that also not have the added people? I'm just trying to understand, was it requested or was it not requested?
She requested it prior to budgeting and it was denied. So the budget before you is a level service budget without that request reflected. Mm-hmm. I think that it is in the library budget, if I'm remembering correctly. I think that's a request that stayed in there.
Okay.
I have to go back and check. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's sort of it's a technicality. In both cases, they want new people.
Yeah.
In both cases, it has not been, nothing's final until it's final. Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna have to drop off not too long from now to do bedtime because Brian's traveling, but I can hang out for a little bit more.
And this is probably going to be the last. I think this is going to be the last thing we're going to be discussing tonight. We'll maybe have a little wrap up. So, any other questions about the Council on Aging?
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Okay.
Nice job.
It was great.
Thanks, Lee.
The other thing on our agenda was capital. Now, I talked to Lorraine, who's our capital rep. It sounds like it would be better to wait till a later date. Lorraine, I don't want to speak to you for you, but that was my understanding.
We're just, we had one meeting, and so everyone handed in their budget requests, their capital requests. And some departments asked.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear. Lots of people are talking at the same time.
And they,
Andrew, bang your gavel.
so everyone has handed theirs in, but a couple of budgets have asked if they could have more time because they wanted to make some adjustments. There was a couple of things that were presented at the one meeting we had. They had facilities come in, but again, there was just sort of these general numbers, which it looked like they do a 5-year plan is what they're required to do. And he came in and he was giving out numbers of 150 for FY27, then 300,000, then 350,000 to replace the windows in the town hall. And then he said, but I'm not sure if these are the exact current numbers because it sounds like this was passed on to him. So in a couple of the things that were presented, it was a very general statement because they're still, each group is still kind of defining what it is that they need. And the next step is going to be, probably very soon, the next week or so, everyone has to have their final amount in. And in the beginning of January, Amy and Nick will have the town administrators requested approval for the capital budget. And that would be presented to probably the Capital Improvement Committee first, then the Selectmen, then they're gonna come here with the final budget. I know next week they're gonna come and talk general and they can answer some of the very specific questions. But we were saying things like, why is it 151 year and then it's 300,000 and then it's 350,000? How many windows are we talking about? What's the phases of doing it? And he understood all of that. He said, that's what we're putting together. So everything about the school, and he's facilities only. Because there was a lot of issues about the high school lighting system in the field. It just shuts off when people are playing or something at night.
Oh my gosh.
And it stays off for a number of minutes. And so that's one of the requests to 400,000. And it is a safety issue because it does stay off for like 15 or 20 minutes. But then again, we were asking, what does the 400,000 cover? And so again, he said, we're putting all of that together. So my point when I'm speaking to Jay is I think it's too early to get to the specifics because it truly is every single department in Milton that has this capital budget. So it's not like one department's budget. Mm-hmm. And so we had one meeting, we have one meeting a week going forward. And then it'll be his sort of requested approval. And then he'll come in and talk to different groups about it. But we all had questions. Everybody had a lot of sort of detailed questions that he just said, we're working on that. Which, I think if the departments just handed in recently their request, 5-year request for capital, now it said, okay, that much money. And if it's 5 years, some of the numbers were handed from previous years because it's 5 years. And we were just saying, what does that mean? You know, and they were saying we had to do plumbing repairs. What about what? What is it that you had to do? So I'm gathering all that. So just the one meeting we had was just sort of facilities, general stuff, but all the details have to come back. And they know everyone obviously wants details, but they're still working it out. So I think that we will, and then we talked about, one thing became about, what do you call it? How much funding that would be for free cash. And Nick said it was going to be about $1 million, which is about the same as been for previous years. And then there was talk about maybe not having a lot of options for some of the other bonding and stuff like that. And then Amy said she's going to put in more detail. So that's why I didn't want to come and present a whole bunch of stuff when really what we want, I don't know about you, what I want are the details of that number sounds interesting, but what does it mean? And when we talk about these phases over each year, what does that mean? And what is the expectation at the end of it? This Thursday, DPW is coming in probably to do the same kind of thing, but I have a message to Amy to say, is there any way we can get some more details? And then I can bring stuff back to you, but I don't think it's probably the right thing to do until Nick finalizes what he thinks as a town administrator, what he thinks should be approved. And then it goes forward from that point on. But so that was it. So that's why I asked if we could hold off on the capital, is just because I don't think there's enough information yet, other than a bunch of numbers without details. And so that's it. So we're waiting. So I can give more next Monday to see if they've given us more this week. And hopefully the departments that pulled back, that wanted to revise their numbers. He didn't say revise up or down, he just said revise. The deadline is coming, and that's it. You can't do it any longer. And that's when Nick and Amy sort of put everything together for the town administrator's budget, capital budget. So in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we have it, and obviously definitely by the beginning of January, because it's finalized by then. But next week, if he comes with Amy, it'll be a good place to at least start with some of the details that people are looking for. But again, unless it's the finalized version of what they're going to put forward, I'm not sure we'll get the answers that I'm looking for. You can talk for yourself. But they understood everyone wants details as much as they can give them. So,
Lorraine, can you give me a sense for like how it intertwines with every budget? So I guess there's a committee of capital, and then they will say, well, fire needs this and police needs this.
Capital Improvement Planning Committee's
Got it.
committee of, it's the town administrator, it's Amy, Dexter, who works with the administrator, and then the select board has somebody there.
Okay.
I'm this committee.
Yeah.
There's a school person.
I see.
And there's somebody else, and then there's 2 positions for citizens to sit on.
Okay. Yeah.
And so everyone puts in their capital budget. I mean, they have their budgets as we've been talking about, but then this is capital.
Capital. Yep. Got it.
These are things that we need to look at to go forward.
Yeah.
That are more money
Sure.
than the operating. And one of the things that was being brought up is that from the facilities is that there's a lot of things on these lists, and I might be shocked on the list. And they asked them to pick 3 of their priorities. But a lot of things, like the schools are 20 years old. So some of the things that they want, like replacing some windows and stuff like that, he said a lot of times if you don't sort of look at it earlier than when it's absolutely necessary, then you really can't do it, because then you're dealing with other things.
Right.
Windows that leak, okay, now you have the walls that you have to do,
Right.
and stuff like that. So it was interesting to see the long list, but this is truly the capital stuff. 25,000 over 25,000.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. And then the town administrator puts it all together. And I think there's like 16 sheets that are on.
And so currently, when I look at the budgets we have here, there isn't one for capital, and it will be coming. I just wasn't quite sure if it somehow got interwoven into each one, but it's a totally separate, which makes sense to me. And thank you if this is totally obvious to everyone else, but as a new member, I didn't really understand
there's
it.
different ways of restricted funds and what, stabilization fund and free cash.
Right.
And all of the stuff that can be used for it. And then there's some stuff that you can only use this one fund, reserve funds or something.
And I'm working on I'm looking at those funds as part of my assignment. And so that's partly where I was asking too, because it felt like it connected. So we'll chat more and get together and talk about that.
So more to come about that.
On the lighting, are they gonna spend 400,000 on those lights? Can they not repair it? Have they looked at trying?
That's a lot of the questions we were asking them, is that where did the 400,000 come from? And what does it mean? What is it they're gonna be doing? And the same thing, as I said before, the windows, there's, the town windows don't open at all. But the phases they were talking about, what's the difference? What's happening 150,000 in 27, 300,000. It sounded like they just plopped money there. And so, at least I don't know if he's new, but he said, I got to find out some of the details here. So we asked, could he go back to the contractor and as best as possible get some updated numbers, and then what does it mean to do it? So,
Maureen, did you get the sense that they were taking advantage of grants and programs for like lighting from the utilities?
They didn't talk too much about it. They mentioned it, and I think in the past that has all been considered
Okay.
to do. But there's just a lot of things that have to be repaired. That people are asking for, but they're true. A lot of it, if we just ignore it year after year, then it becomes an emergency, and then then it becomes part of, I don't want to say operating budget, but it becomes part of, this is what we have to do, and there's no talk about it. So I didn't realize the schools were 20 years old already. The things about the library, when it's some kind of flooring and plumbing, district-wide plumbing repairs and upgrades. That's only 75,000.
I bet some of the schools are 25 years old now.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
bet some of them are 25.
Sure.
Can I ask about the capital committee? I know you weren't on it last year, but you were on it in previous years. My understanding is they make a 5-year plan. Now, I've never seen this 5-year plan, but I thought every year they're supposed to have a 5-year plan. So for this year's work, are we just starting from last year's 5-year plan? Or
Yeah, it
is
seemed
that
to me,
optimistic?
from what they were saying, because it's the departments that put together their 5-year request, and then the whole thing gets put together for a town. That's why my question to the presenters was that, are these numbers just from last year? Are they actual numbers, or do we need to look at this? So we're starting with the 27, and then, fiscal year 27. And then the other stuff, they said, well, we're not going to be able to do that, so we may have to take it off the list. And we said, maybe not take it off the list, but push it for a future year, if to find out about funding and stuff. So I think that's part of the details. And are they definitely coming on Monday next week?
Who's they?
Amy and Nick?
Definitely, I don't know. I got an email from Nick today that made me think they were probably coming back.
Yeah, and I'll find out Thursday for sure, because I think some of the real nitty-gritty details, it would be better to sort of come from them, as far as some of the other funding sources that are there.
Okay. And then, do you mind if I share my screen for a second? I want to sort of address something, what Nikki asked about how this relates to other budgets. I don't know if this will fully answer the question, but I'm pulling up last year's warrant. So last year's warrant, Article 4, is about capital items. Now I'm going to look at the second page before the first page, just because that's how my brain works. For capital items, some things were non-bond. We're paying cash for these. So specifically, out of non-bonded capital items, $913,000. Most of that is from free cash, not all of it, but pretty darn close to it. So we have free cash that we're only supposed to spend on one-time things, and we spent about $1 million of that on non-bonded capital items. And how, meaning we didn't borrow for it, we didn't issue a bond, we just spent the money. And this is for stuff that is less expensive and has less of a lifetime.
Right.
And then if I go back to the previous page, bonded capital items, this is stuff we're borrowing for. I assume we're borrowing over the useful life, 10 years, 15 years. Here's how much we're going to borrow. So town meeting says, yes, borrow $45,000 for an administrative vehicle, town treasurer. Then the next time the town treasurer goes out to borrow, then we'll buy it, and then the town treasurer will borrow for that. Now, how that works into the budgets, there's another budget item that is the debt payment. So one thing I've spoken to Mr. Milano about is, okay, if we see this total of $4.8 million that we're borrowing, this doesn't, I'd like to see this turn into, you have to make some assumptions about interest rates, but I'd like to see this turn into, okay, and that's going to be this much money in our debt for the next X number of years. And Mr. Milano said, yeah, he'd like to communicate that too. So this gets a little bit to what someone was asking earlier about how does this relate to departments' budgets. It sort of doesn't. It either comes out of the free cash or it comes out of future borrowing budget.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. And I think Amy was saying about bonding and stuff that we may be very limited this year on what we can do or how much we can do, which sounds like because we have a lot of bonding from the past, but we were really concentrating on the $1 million free cash that is there. So.
Yeah, it might be related to, I know that, for example, if town meeting approves money to buy a truck, okay, town meeting approved that money. They may not buy that truck for the next 3 years. And so we don't borrow the money for the next 3 years. And so I don't want to speak out of turn, but it might be that a lot of the things that were approved by town meeting the year before last, and the year before that, and the year before that might be coming up that we've actually purchased them and we'll actually start borrowing for them now. I'm sorry, I'll let Ms. Dexter and Mr. Milano speak to that next week, but it might be something related to that.
That's it. That's all. I know.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Details.
Keeps coming up.
I know.
Capital improvement.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Okay, if that's all on that topic, again, we'll be getting minutes sent around pretty soon to approve next week. Next week, we'll be hearing from Department of Public Works, Parks, and Mr. Milano and Ms. Dexter. And possibly police, but probably not. I'll probably wait till January. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jay, so I guess when I get answers back from these departments, so I have answers from Rob, from the IT one that I delivered a couple of weeks ago. I guess I'll send them out to you and to you guys and have you forward out the answers to the rest of the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So if we're doing all the budgets now, what happens in February and March?
Go on vacation.
That's where you put
Well,
it.
Yeah, party time.
It takes a long
Take a nap.
time.
We have to actually write the warrant. I mean, we have to, right? I mean, we'll have to look at all the articles.
There'll probably be some revisions.
One thing is, I don't know if we're coming to decisions now. Mr. Milano will put together his budget and we'll look at it and think, okay, we learned these things in the fall. And now Mr. Milano has made his decisions. Yes, I want to spend money here. No, I don't want to spend money there. And we'll think deeply about it and think if we have any feedback or not. There's also non-budget articles. Of non-budget articles, I expect at least 3. I talked to 3 or 4 I can sort of see coming down the pike. One is the sign bylaw might come back. There's also an article about tax exemptions for veterans. And there may be some activity regarding the 3rd fire station, the Atherton fire station. And 4th one, there may be a local historic district coming to us. And maybe something else. I don't know.
I think it's early to decide on budgets. You know, just, it's,
No,
you're
I like
only 5 months out of 12 on the first this year.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's,
I know we're not deciding, but we
Yeah.
haven't found any issues of concern so far.
Well, if we,
But for them,
well, there
maybe
was one. So for the IT one, they had the, oh, I'm sorry, I took off my. For the IT budget, we had the, you know, the question about why they're not doing a security assessment, Andrew had. So I gotta follow up on that. So now that we're doing it so early, theoretically, you could add that to the budget, to this budget, if people thought it was important enough. You know what I mean? Since we're doing it so early. But I mean, I wasn't here last year, so like, I wasn't here when you guys were doing it the other way. So. I'm not sure I can really speak to it.
And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say that health insurance might be very expensive next year. You know, every month we get a little bit more data on health insurance, get a little bit better idea of what it's going to be, but it might put a crimp in the budget and might have to lead some hard decisions. And so Mr. Milano will have his opinion on those hard decisions, and we will also. Don't want to be a downer, but that's one thing that could be done.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Is Jay's maybe this came up when Nick came here to do the, you know, when we went over the whole budget process, but are all the departments, they've been instructed to try to provide a level budget this year? Is that
Levels, every year I've been involved
Level
with, they've
service.
been asked for a level service budget. So
Okay.
not level dollar, but
level service?
you're going to keep providing the same level of services. Like,
Okay.
you know, council on aging, not add a person. Library, not add a person and a half.
Okay.
Provide us that budget, but then also say what you'd like to add. Does
Okay.
that answer your question?
Yeah, it is. I was just wondering what the process was.
So my understanding is he asked for both. He asked for level service and then also Tommy, you know, what your wishes would be.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
If we're done discussing, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
I,
Bye.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much.
All right.